So, browsing around, I've noticed there's been some very common topics that's still kind of popping up that people have issues with around the Steam Deck. So, the Steam Deck has kind of taken off pretty well. They've finally gotten out of the phase to where they're back ordered basically, and you can order your Steam Deck and get it pretty quickly. So, the issue that people are running into currently is that they're still making excuses as to why they don't want to support it or why with only certain constraints that they want to support it. So this was linked on the Linux gaming subreddit. And so Destiny's Reddit is basically talking about alternative support and people chiming in and constantly, which has been a thing for like the longest time since Proton was created, but even more so since the Steam Deck was announced, is like people asking game studios, particularly like Bungie and 343 and the popular ones, to support Proton and more specifically supporting the Steam Deck. And you still see this air of like, well, we don't want to support it basically, or rationale behind it. So, for example, Bungie's official stance is Destiny 2 is not supported for play on the Steam Deck or any system utilizing Steam Play's Proton unless Windows is installed and running. So you have to install Windows on your Steam Deck, which takes a little bit of tweaking and rigmarole. Players who attempt to launch Destiny 2 on the Steam Deck through SteamOS or Proton will be unable to enter the game and will be returned to their game library after a short time. Players who are not accessing Destiny 2 through Windows and attempt to bypass the Steam OS Proton incompatibility will be met with a game ban. So they're going to ban you for trying to go around and play a game on a system that you want to play it on, even though they've got it on a bunch of other, other consoles. The other problem that I see is what kind of anti-cheat do they use? Because if it's like EAC or BattlEye, then those two, Valve has already worked really hard with those two to get that anti-cheat working. So the other one you see issues with is Rust. Gary Newman of Facepunch Studios saying we don't want to support it, and then like backtracking and flip-flopping because Rust for a little bit supported Linux, and then they got rid of it because apparently more Linux players were cheating than Windows players. But cheating is still a problem in Rust. And so they talk about like we might support the Steam Deck, we might not. It's this whole thing of why are you not doing it when Valve has been doing all the heavy lifting for you? Valve has put so much work into this. Like, you probably wouldn't even be like having this argument if Valve hadn't initially released Steam on Windows as it is, because back when Steam came out, there was still a lot of like sway between what operating system would be in essence the gaming standard operating system, because Unreal was still very much like, oh, we got Linux support, you could play Unreal 2004 on Linux. They had like native binaries for it. And since Steam came out, it was a Windows only thing, and so you had to Steam made it easy to sell games and whatnot, and now here we are on Windows and every other game client uses it pretty much. And now that Valve has switched over to Linux for the Steam Deck, it's like, well, what do we do? And now a lot of other people are moving that direction too that are handheld manufacturers. And Valve has already done a lot of the heavy lifting for them. They are even like helping other handheld creators use Steam OS on their device if they really want to. So these game developers saying we can't support it or this, that, and the other, it's like, you could go to Valve. They've done all the heavy lifting for you, even to the point to where they created Pressure Vessel, which allows old Linux native games to continue to run because it creates a library runtime environment to where the game can still make those system calls so that any obsolete calls are still able to hook into a library in the pressure vessel runtime environment. So Valve's already done a lot of the heavy lifting. I don't know what they're going on about it. It's like, we don't support it, we don't support it, we don't support it. And who was it? There have been a couple developers that have brought up what a boon bug reports from Linux users on Proton have been, that have actually fixed bugs that on Windows as well, because they are able to provide better feedback about what went on than a lot of the Windows users do. So again, I've brought it up before, it decreases down on development time. And when you support Linux, a lot of these people are actually willing to sit down with you and go over what happened and pinpoint where things were, thus decreasing on the development time or the research time needed to look at a bug that you have, which can sometimes be harder on Windows because of the nature of it. So this whole thing with like Gary Newman and Bungie and 343 is actually sort of working on it. They've been really slow about it, but these people are like, we don't want to support that, but then there's still a bunch of developers like vying for that Steam Deck verified green check mark. So some people still don't care, don't quite like understand. It's like, Steam Deck, yeah, hackers, yeah, but Windows still has them too. So yeah, it's just a big finger-pointing, excuse-making thing. So either A, developers are going to do it, or they're not, and they just need to come out and say, like, whether they will or not, and make it known, because otherwise, don't do this thing where you are going to make it work, because if Bungie ends up going and making and support SteamOS and Proton, does that mean they are going to unban people that tried to go around it? Or are those people going to remain banned? That would be another question for these games that have done this. And also, if it's a single-player game that you're having issues with that like doesn't support it, why do you need online enabled anti-cheat for an exclusively single-player game? And why can you not support SteamOS or Proton in playing it if it's just a single-player game and it's not a multiplayer game? Anyway, this conversation could be furthered in the comments. Have a good one. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Algorithm really seems to like that, and it actually helps it get directly out to more people. And you can even join the chat and interact when I'm not online or what have you in Discord, Guilded, XMPP, and check out my streaming stuff. Links are all in the description places, and I will see you guys later.